Investigation continues to determine what caused a helicopter crash that left a Huntington Beach police officer dead and his partner injured. HB-1 spiraled from the sky and hit the waters off Balboa Island. This was on Saturday night. And now the NTSB is trying to figure out what caused the aircraft to lose control. Was it a mechanical problem or some other issue?
Well, joining us now to talk about it is Jack Cress. He teaches helicopter accident investigation at the USC Aviation Safety and Security Program. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you.
Well, we know the investigation into the crash will take time, but from looking at the video of what happened and the aftermath, are there signs that you can see that seem to point to anything specific?
Well, Pat, I would say that certainly the motion of the helicopter, as best I could discern it in the dark film, is suggestive of a problem that we call vortex ring state. I understand that there were some noises that were made that I did not give privy to, I should say, because the video that I was watching did not have the audio with it. That would help some, but the way the helicopter was acting leads me to believe, from what I know now, that the vortex ring state is a very likely possibility.
So, Jack, what do investigators look at first to lead them to a possible cause, and can they determine what happened just from the wreckage alone?
Well, I think there's a lot that can be determined, Jeff, and of course one of those things is the damage on the blades, as an example, which would be suggestive of whether or not the helicopter was under power or not. And my judgment from what I've seen so far, and of course the NTSB folks are very good at this, better than I am, but my indications are that there was power on the aircraft, indicating that the engine was doing its job, or at least to some reasonably high power level.
Well, Jack, we know the police helicopters tend to fly lower than most other choppers, certainly lower than our news choppers that are up every night. Do you think that that might have played a role in this accident, the level at which the chopper was flying?
Well, I think it's positive. It's possible, that I really don't think that that's likely the cause. The one thing that I can think about, and of course we don't really know what the pilots were contending with, but I understand that there was a disturbance on the ground, and it appeared from what I saw initially that the helicopter was wrapped into a pretty tight turn, and that would demand more power. And depending on whether or not that power is available, or if it was applied soon enough, the helicopter might tend to develop a descent rate. And once the descent rate is initiated, this vortex ring thing could very easily lead to what we saw.
So, Jack, tell us about your experience as a pilot in the Marine Corps. Thank you so much for your service, by the way. But did you ever have to make an emergency landing or deal with any kind of major failure in flight?
Well, sure. Yeah, there are a number of things. And of course, the state of the technology in a helicopter is much better now than it was in my days back in Vietnam and subsequent. So, there were many things that in the older days that would go bad that you don't see go bad in this particular era. And I should point out that this helicopter that we've lost here, a 520N, is from a family that is resulted in something like 4,700 helicopters built and sold. And in Vietnam, we actually had a variant of it, the little brother of it, to the tune of about 1,500. It was reputed to be the safest helicopter in terms of, its protection in a crash, as an example, that we had in Vietnam through those years.
Jack, I want you to take us back to, you mentioned vortex ring. And I'm just going to be honest, I think the first time I heard that was, I go back to the crash that Kobe and his daughter and many others were on. Tell us more about that.
Well, the helicopter develops its lift, and it really is not that much different from a fixed wing. It takes air above the rotor, and it accelerates it down through the rotor. The wing does the same kind of thing. You can talk about fancy aerodynamic explanations, but it's really that simple. So when the helicopter rotor grabs the air from above and accelerates it down through, you can appreciate that it becomes disordered. There are vortices in it, and that air being disordered makes it somewhat difficult to fly, to generate the lift that you need, if in fact you're descending into your own, what we call downwash. And that can lead to this thing called vortex ring state. You're actually descending into, I'm going to call it the trashy air that results underneath your helicopter when the rotor does its job in accelerating the air.
Jack, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your expertise.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
You bet.
Hope to have him back.